There is an animal in Alaska right now, walking through someone's backyard, that has killed more people than every grizzly bear in the state combined. It's not a bear. It's not a wolf. It's not even a predator. And by the end of this video, you're going to look at Alaska completely differently, because the thing most likely to kill you there isn't hunting you. It doesn't even want to see you. But it will end your life faster than almost anything else on this list. This is the top 10 deadliest animals in Alaska, ranked by actual kills, not by how scary they look, not by movie reputations, but by real numbers. And I promise you, the order is going to surprise you. Some of the animals everyone's terrified of barely crack the top 8. And the one everyone underestimates? It's sitting at number 1, and the reason why is honestly terrifying once you understand it. Along the way, I'm also going to show you exactly where in Alaska each of these animals is most likely to be found. So if you're ever planning a trip up north, you'll know precisely which regions to keep your guard up in. Let's get into it. Before we start, if you're new here, this channel is all about the wild, dangerous, and downright unbelievable side of nature, so hit subscribe now because you do not want to miss what's coming later in this list. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now telling me about your closest call with a dangerous animal, whether it was a bear, a moose, a snake, anything. I read every single one, and I might feature your story in a future video. All right, number 10. Wolves. Wolves get a reputation they honestly don't fully earn. Alaska is home to thousands of gray wolves, and encounters happen constantly across the backcountry. But confirmed fatal wolf attacks on humans in North America are extremely rare, with only a small handful ever documented in modern history. Most wolves actively avoid humans. The danger isn't a pack hunting you down like in the movies. It's the rare, isolated incident involving a sick, habituated, or unusually bold individual animal. Still, when it does happen, it's brutal, which is exactly why wolves make the list. Just barely. Interestingly, wolves are also incredibly intelligent, coordinated hunters, which means the rare attacks that do occur tend to be far more calculated than a random panic charge from something like a moose. Where they're most commonly found: interior Alaska and the Brooks Range in the north, plus Denali National Park, basically anywhere with large caribou and moose herds to follow. 9. Musk oxen. This one throws people off every time. Musk oxen look like slow, shaggy, prehistoric leftovers, but they are built like tanks and can weigh close to 800 pounds. When threatened, they don't run, they charge. Alaska has recorded fatal muskox encounters, making them just as historically deadly, per capita, as animals with far scarier reputations, like polar bears. The lesson here: never judge an animal's danger level by how lazy it looks standing in a field. Musk oxen actually form a defensive circle around their young when threatened, and if you approach that circle too closely, the nearest adult can break formation and charge without warning. Where they're most commonly found: the Arctic coastal tundra of northern and northwestern Alaska, especially around Nunivak Island and the Seward Peninsula. Actual 8. Black bears. Black bears are the most common bear species in Alaska, and while they're generally more timid than their brown bear cousins, they are still fully capable of a fatal attack, especially around food sources or when a mother is protecting cubs. Of Alaska's documented fatal bear attacks between 2000 and 2017, black bears were responsible for a meaningful share of them. They rank lower than you'd expect purely because of temperament. They'd rather flee than fight. But when a black bear decides to engage, it's not a fight most people win. What makes them tricky is unpredictability. The same species that usually flees at the first sign of a human can turn defensive in an instant if it feels cornered or if cubs are nearby. Where they're most commonly found: forested regions across southeast and south-central Alaska, including areas right around Anchorage and Juneau. Okay, we are halfway through this list, and I need you to stick around, because number 1 is not what you think it is. I actually had to double-check the research on this 3 separate times, because it didn't match what I expected either. There's a very specific, very unsettling reason why the deadliest animal in Alaska isn't a predator at all. It has to do with how often you'd actually encounter it versus a bear, and once I explain the math behind it, you'll never look at an Alaskan road trip the same way again. So don't skip ahead. Let's keep going. #7. Wasps, bees, and hornets. Statistically overlooked, criminally underrated. Across the U.S. as a whole, insect stings cause more fatalities per year than bears, wolves, and sharks combined, mostly through severe allergic reactions. Alaska is no exception. You will never see this coming in a movie. Nobody makes a horror film about a wasp. But the numbers don't lie. If you're hiking in Alaska this summer, the insect buzzing near your snack is statistically more dangerous than most of the animals ranked below it on this list. And unlike a bear encounter, you usually get zero warning. No growl, no charge, just a sting, and, for someone with a severe allergy, a medical emergency within minutes. Where they're most commonly found: anywhere warm and populated during summer, yards, campgrounds, and trailheads across south-central Alaska see the highest concentrations. 6. Domestic dogs. This is the one that makes people uncomfortable, but it has to be included because we're ranking by real kills, not vibes. Alaska has one of the higher rates of fatal dog attacks in the country, disproportionately affecting young children. It's an uncomfortable truth. The animal living inside so many Alaskan homes poses a statistically greater threat than the wild animals lurking outside them. This isn't a knock on dogs as a whole. It's a reminder that wild and dangerous aren't the same category. Factors like roaming packs of unsupervised dogs in rural areas and a lack of consistent leash enforcement in some communities only add to the risk. Where they're most commonly found, everywhere people live, but incidents cluster in rural villages and remote communities where free-roaming dog populations are highest. #5. Wolverines. Pound for pound, Wolverines might be the most aggressive animal on this entire list. They're only about the size of a medium dog, but they've been documented fighting off wolves and even bears over a kill. Fatal Wolverine attacks on humans are exceptionally rare, but that's not because Wolverines are gentle. It's because they're solitary, territorial, and mostly avoid people entirely. If a Wolverine ever does engage a human, it is not backing down, and that ferocity is exactly why it earns a spot this high despite low attack numbers. Their jaw strength alone is powerful enough to crush frozen bone, which gives you a sense of what would happen if that same force were ever directed at a person. Where they're most commonly found: remote, high-elevation wilderness across the interior and Arctic. The Brooks Range and areas around Denali hold some of the densest populations. #4. Polar bears. Polar bears are the only bear species on Earth that will actively hunt a human as prey, rather than attacking purely out of fear or defense. Because they live in Alaska's remote Arctic regions, they rarely encounter people, which sounds like good news, but it actually makes them more dangerous when it happens, since they haven't learned to fear humans the way brown bears have. Experts warn that as climate change pushes polar bears onto land more often, and for longer stretches, encounters and risk are only expected to increase in the coming years. As sea ice continues shrinking, hungrier, more land-bound polar bears are increasingly forced to look for food sources closer to human settlements, which is a genuinely unsettling trend to watch. Where they're most commonly found: the far north coast, Utqiagvik, Barrow, and the Beaufort and Chukchi Sea coastlines, especially near sea ice. #3. Kodiak bears. Kodiak bears are a massive subspecies of brown bear found only on Alaska's Kodiak archipelago, and they are among the largest land predators on the planet, with males regularly topping half a ton. Despite their sheer size, fatal attacks are historically rare. Kodiak Island has recorded only about one confirmed human fatality from a bear in the last 75 years, largely thanks to careful wildlife management and hunting regulation. They rank this high not because of frequency, but because of pure lethality. If a Kodiak bear does attack, survival odds drop dramatically. Part of the reason attacks stay so rare is genuinely impressive coexistence. Local hunting guidelines and bear awareness education on the island are considered some of the most effective in the world. Where they're most commonly found: Exclusively the Kodiak archipelago in the Gulf of Alaska. They exist nowhere else on Earth. Hash 2. Brown bears, grizzlies. This is the animal most people assume is going to take the #1 spot, and honestly, it's close. Alaska has one of the highest concentrations of brown bear attacks in North America, alongside British Columbia and Wyoming. Research tracking brown bear attacks across North America found that a notable percentage of documented incidents ended in a fatality. Grizzlies are fast, powerful, and unpredictable, especially near salmon runs or when a sow is protecting cubs. Despite weighing hundreds of pounds, a grizzly can sprint faster than a racehorse over short distances, which is part of why outrunning one is never actually an option. But even with all of that, they're still not #1. Where they're most commonly found, coastal Alaska near salmon streams, Katmai, the Alaska Peninsula, and south-central river systems draw the heaviest concentrations, especially during salmon runs. #1. Moose. Here it is. The animal everyone underestimates, and the reason this whole video exists. Alaska is home to roughly 200,000 moose, more than triple the number of brown bears in the state, and unlike bears, moose are everywhere. City streets, backyards, hiking trails, even highways. Every year, moose are involved in an estimated 800 vehicle collisions across Alaska, alongside up to 10 direct physical attacks on people annually. In May 2024, a photographer in Homer was fatally attacked by a female moose defending her newborn calves. In 2025, a woman at an Anchorage park was charged by a protective mother moose and survived, but her dog didn't. Moose aren't predators, they don't hunt, but a 1,500-pound animal with sharp front hooves that gets startled easily and can trample a grown adult in seconds ends up causing more injuries in Alaska than bears do, by a wide margin. It's not about aggression. It's about volume, proximity, and how unprepared people are for an animal that looks like it belongs in a children's book. That's the twist. That's why moose take the #1 spot. Not because they're vicious, but because in Alaska, you are simply far more likely to run into one, startle it, and pay the price. Where they're most commonly found, practically everywhere, but they're most densely packed right in and around Anchorage, the Kenai Peninsula, and along the highways connecting Alaska's biggest towns, which is exactly why collisions and encounters are so frequent.